Hey, how's it going? This is George with Truck Driver Nation, and what we're going to do now is we're fixing to go over, starting your independent freight dispatching business, a step-by-step approach. Um, there's some things when I explain this, everybody's going to do theirs different, okay? Depending on your state that you're in, depending on really what you have available at that given point, because being a freight dispatcher is definitely low cost startup. I mean, if you got something that you can start a business up lower cost than this, even I would love to know. But anyways, let's move on into it. So starting an independent freight dispatcher business can be highly profitable. It's a low cost venture with ultimate unlimited income potential. Ain't that crazy? As a dispatcher, you can help truckers find loads, negotiate freight rates, and manage logistics, all without owning a truck. Okay. Here's exactly how to get started to maximize your success. So as we go through this, like I always have a profile because if I don't have some kind of a script, I'll bounce. I bounce bad enough as it is. So, what does an independent freight dispatcher do? Obviously, an independent freight dispatcher works directly with the owner operators or small trucking companies. Obviously, going to be helping them finding and booking the loads from the load boards or direct shipper connections. And you've got to learn to um, find those direct shippers. And if you need help, as we go through it, even after the fact, after you've learned the course and everything, please get back with me. I'll show you how I do it. Um, Anyways, you obviously need those negotiation skills. Okay, you got to be competitive with those rates to maximize the truck driver's profit. Negotiation skills, I cannot. That should be like breathing air at some given point because negotiating is going to actually end up what they're looking at, what you over your efforts to get that revenue. Are you going to lose them? You don't want to lose your owner operators because you didn't know how to negotiate. It's a very fixable skills. It's based off a couple parameters, and once you got it down, you're good to go. Obviously, handling paperwork, broker carrier agreements, and rate confirmations. Between the broker carrier agreements, which is the carrier packets, and the rate confirmations, that's like the majority of what you do a lot of times. Even though we teach a lot of things inside of being a freight dispatcher, the day actually turns into a routine. So people say, I get when the students, when first I start teaching everybody, I try to find out one, what is your objective? What do you really want to do? And why are you picking freight dispatching? Um, I mean, is it because it don't cost a lot to get involved? Is it because it's your business? I mean, if you've never owned a business, you know, is that what you're looking for? You want to be an independent business owner, correct? But the biggest thing is to find out what your overall objective is and what is this going to be? Is this a passion for you or is this a stepping stone? Some more I know about what you are wanting to do and how this interjects into what you're doing. I can actually, I mean, I don't do it because I discourage people from stuff. I know you're going to go, why do you do that? What can I tell you? There's so much stuff inside logistics that turns out bad because people didn't give you the right information. Um, does it hurt me? Yeah. I've had times I was like, man, all right, we got a new student. Great. But, we make money off of actually doing the course. So it comes back and bites me. But I believe in karma, you know. So whether it pays off or not, I just know I don't want to get you into something because it becomes a chain reaction. I bring you in, you're a freight dispatcher, and then you really don't want to do it. Then it affects the owner operators. And you, as a truck driver, know what it's like to feel those stresses and strains of being out there on the road. And in my overall understanding, because of my years of being a truck driver, I know what they're going through too. And I just don't want to pull, misery likes company. Okay. I was miserable in the truck. Um, at some point because I just finally got to the end of my path on that. And but I don't want to pull nobody else out of alignment where they need to be at in that given point in their life. So that's the reason communication, communication. And I ask crazy questions sometimes, and it may not always be on the straight and narrow, but there's a reason I'm asking for you because I don't always ask it to everybody what I'm trying to get out of the situation to make sure I'm the best choice for one for you to come to learn freight dispatching from, but also that I'm putting you in the best position that I feel that's going to fit you for what we do for owner operators as being a freight dispatch service. Now, with no CDL or truck required, you don't have to have none, but I only really train truck drivers because I don't really like teaching people to do this and they don't have the empathy for what we do. This is one of the best ways to enter the logistics industry and minimal upfront investment. Obviously, tracking freight and communication with drivers to ensure timely deliveries. Because we got a lot of technology, but people don't really want to use the phones. You know, the generation I come from, we were phone people because we went from phone cards to pagers, flip phones, right? And then obviously we went on to smartphones. And as it progressed, things changed, and it's progressing still even now, where a lot of people think, well, I can text and I can communicate it with people. You have to understand, majority of the truck driving fleet are older people, so they're going to want to hear you. They want to hear the tone of your voice, make sure the sincerity in what you're offering them or what you're working with them on is there. They've got a lot invested, a lot of time and sweat, energy, cost of things. Even now that I believe you can actually see people on the phone. You got that time with your family, but remember, we used to not be able to see families for weeks on end, months, because we didn't have the ability to actually see them on a smartphone. So I believe that's helped the situation. But the thing it did hurt us on is now we don't see each other inside the truck stops the way we used to because we didn't have nothing else to do. So we'd go inside and bullshit with each other. And unless you're sitting in the Petro at the Iron Skillet, which is a restaurant inside the Petro truck stop, you usually don't have a lot of camaraderie and stuff unless you're out there at the shop getting your truck worked on. People talk about stuff out there, but usually they're out there trying to figure out how to save themselves money because their truck's broke down and they're inside there unless they're a company driver. Now, steps to start your freight dispatch business. One, you need to set up the business plan in the legal form. Okay. So you're going to need your LLC. You get your LLC through your Secretary of State. Your EIN going to the IRS site is free. So really and truly, you get your I can't remember. I think I did my EIN first and then I did my LLC. But anyways, you get those two. The LLC is going to cost you money to set it up. So prepare for that. I did mine through what's it called? LegalZoom, and they did it with the state. I think it took 5 days to get it back. So I did that, and then the EIN almost instantaneous. So make sure your business name. So whatever business name you're going to use, when you set it up, make sure that it's obviously one that nobody else is using. Because the thing is, you can have a business name for multiple states, and there's nothing you can really do for it at that point because that state doesn't have that name listed in that given state. Because remember, we're 50 different countries in the United States, united, hence the word. Open a business bank account for financial transactions. Definitely get one that's totally dedicated to your business. Okay. Because you need to make sure that the transactions are clear behind what your movement of your cash flow is. Um, because if you don't, and obviously I've had to experience that where I didn't have access to getting a business account. And what I had to do was just do everything through my private business. And it really becomes technically a pain in the ass because you're saying, well, this is my business account, but it's only my personal account and only because I didn't have no way to open one because you had to go to the bank, and I wasn't in a position where I could be there at the bank that I use to get it done. And so now I've got to figure out how to explain what went to what, and that's really, really almost impossible. And you're actually hurting yourself as well. And you're not building up your business credit neither. Because remember, you need business credit if you want to actually grow your business. But anyways, invest in the right tools and software. People can ramp off about what all software that you're gonna need. Don't invest heavily on all this. You're not doing 1,000 trucks. You're doing 5 to 10 trucks. Okay. So let's go over first. Let's do the load boards. DAT, truck stop, 1, 2, 3 load board for finding loads. We're gonna stick to these. We're not gonna make this complicated. DAT and truck stop, you're gonna need an MC number. Okay. Without the MC number, they're not gonna let you use the service. With 1, 2, 3 low board, they'll let you use the service without an MC, but it limits the number of loads that you can actually do until you get the paid service. I think 1, 2, 3 low board is like maybe 50, $40, $50. But with the DAT and the truck stop, you need to get with your owner operators because they got to have an MC. I don't have an MC. I don't want an MC as a carrier because people are just going to abuse it, and I'm getting my MC abused for no reason because I'm letting you use it. But the thing is, if the owner operator has taken care of the MC because they should only need your services, you shouldn't be trying to be fixing their problems that they did themselves with the PSP and everything under DOT. They did all that to themselves. You can't really just fix that. And you're not just going to be their safety department or whatever to sit there and fight all these different things that are coming from them. Um, so, they got to have good MC for you to be able to work with them. If it's not, then you're going to miss load boards that you found freight on, but they're not going to take them. So you don't need to be putting yourself in that situation. You should be able to load almost on every load board. Once you do that carrier packet, you shouldn't have them kicking those carrier packets back. If they did, then there's something wrong with that MC. And whatever excuses they give you, that's fine. It's an excuse, but the problem is the responsibility they should have took to maintain that MC number was neglect, and that there ain't no other way to put it. You're grown adults. You need to take care of your MC. Let's go on to dispatch software. We're talking about trucking office, which a lot of people use. Um, Axon and Tailwind, which is TMS for managing loads. I'm gonna be honest, I don't use none of that. I use Google Forms. I learned how to actually set up my Google Forms, and so I just use it like that. Once you get it set up, I don't owe nobody a payment every month for my dispatch software. And like I said, I'm only doing 5 to 7 trucks. Right now, I've got 7 trucks, and that's all I'm responsible for. And I can easily manage it because not that you're perfect, but each MC needs to have its own account. And the way I set it up, the numbers move along just like it would in the software that you're paying for. It did take me a little bit of time to get the kinks out of the software, but I did get them out of there. Invoice and payment processing. You get QuickBooks, Square, and PayPal for billing truckers. Me, I use Square, but I also don't bill truckers like invoicing them and then wait for them to pay me. I've got direct access to their bank account, their credit card, or their factor, and sending me the money when I send in the bills to have them factored. They pay me directly. If somebody doesn't want to do that with you, me myself, I take it as a red flag. I've been doing this a long time, and I can't trust you to pay me. Not that I don't want to trust you, but deal is I know of people that get screwed over, and it becomes a big issue, and I don't have time to chase the money that I've already worked for you to generate. So if you don't need my services for my level of skill, then don't screw with me because I'm going to require that I have direct access. I'm too old to play games with people. But anyways, just find one. Square is really simple for me. Everything does have service charges, so make sure you're aware of whatever service charges you have with your basically point of sale type of deal, so that you're not including those charges on behalf of them. If there's some payment that you end up having to negotiate, just let them know there's going to be a service charge with this because whatever it is, if it's needed. Okay. Reliable communication, a dedicated phone line or email. You're going to use all of them. You're going to use text, email, phone line, the whole 9 yards. Try to use a VoIP line as a voice over internet protocol, Ring Central, those, because that way it keeps them off your main phone line, but it still is able to attach to your computer and to your phone. So it doesn't matter where you're at, the phone numbers or emails or text messages continue to come through without an issue. You just got to make sure you keep your data up. Most people got unlimited data in the United States. Traveling abroad, then you might have to get a new. Obviously, it's not going to affect the software, even if you have to change out the SIM card, because in most countries, phones have 2 SIM cards. United States, they may only have one, but you pick up which SIM card you need to be on in that instance, and then you can go over there and work. And so that makes it great. So you can keep your American SIM card in one slot, and whatever country you're in, that SIM card in that, and kind of do it. And actually, it's actually cheaper in other countries when it comes to the data plans. So find and sign up truck drivers. This here is basically recruiting. You call it whatever you want to. So you need to know how when you're talking to the drivers, one, you need to understand what you are as a freight dispatcher and understand the services that you can offer them. The more services brings up the ability to charge them more for your services, but also provides the ability that you can supply more of the things that they might not need. And it might be a negotiating factor. So when you're actually saying, I can do this, I can do this, and if you have to, do something for free to generate the clientele, the business, right? But don't come down on your percentages. It doesn't matter how short you go. You're going to still do the work. Okay, so don't work yourself to death for very little return, depending on the economic system or the cost of living that you're actually living in. Because remember, I got dispatchers I've trained from Brazil, Americans living in China, Dominican Republic, Belize, where else they at? Thailand, Philippines, um, Canada. So remember, depending on where you're at, you're going to be set up a little bit different when you're dealing with things. But when you're dealing with owner operators, make sure that whatever you're going to charge them meets according to what your actual financial needs are going to be based on the area you're living in. Now, obviously, connecting with owner operators and small fleet carriers who need dispatching services. Where are you going to generate? The biggest thing about recruiting is generating the leads that actually are leads that are what you need, the leads that are in relation to what you're up to, right? There's a difference between me generating leads for somebody when I'm being a recruiter and me generating leads when I'm actually doing freight dispatching because I'm looking to dispatch them, right? Now I can send out leads and send out leads and send out leads, and a majority of the time that's what we do because since I can offer more than one type of offer, matter which way they want to go. If they want to go to recruiting or they want to go to freight dispatching, I can assist them in either direction. But if you're only focusing on owner operators, um, then you need to do one of two things. I would suggest going to one, you can go into Facebook, I mean Craigslist, but you need a lot of leads, okay? That you can generate leads to different carriers and talk to them, or you can go to Facebook under groups. I personally don't find it very useful, but you're gonna have to probably do a paid service to get that out there as far as being a freight dispatch service for the owner operators and including the small fleets. On the actually, if you want to go to where the numbers are at, then go to Safer Web and go into there, and it don't tell you how many trucks they have unless you spend the time. Click on it, open it up, see how many drivers and trucks they have, and it'll tell you, how many miles they run per year. And obviously, you can kind of knowing how many miles they run per year based on the trucks, you can see how well they're doing as well. But anyways, that's going to be the primary ways I tell you to get it. Other ways are just going to be you're going to have to advertise. And that's advertising dollars really do add up. That's the reason when I tell you I supply the leads for you, we're spending $1,500, $2,000 a month for advertising. That just kind of sucks. And most people are not going to want to put that money out there. Now, obviously, you can scale it down based because remember, you only need 5 to 10 drivers, right? So you can scale it down because you're not doing recruiting and you can obviously bring in a lot less leads, but then you really need the quality leads that are saying, hey, these are owner operators. So make sure when you're designing your ads for these that you're being very specific about the people that you're generating to get in contact with you because you also don't want leads that are wasting your time. Always when your leads come in, act rapidly. Get on them immediately. Don't play. Don't just sit there and text them. You get on that phone and you call them people. Okay. They reached out to you. Now you better get off your butt and reach out to them. Now, obviously, competitive rates, 5 to 10% for actually being this for dispatching for them. I wouldn't go to 5%. I don't care where you're at. That's just really a lot of work for 5%. I do between 8 and 10%. I know I'm way below the carriers because they charge anywhere from upwards of 20% all the way up to 28%. And like I tell people, if you need answers on how these percentages are, let me know. I recruit for trucking companies. We know what percentages they're charging based if it's an owner operator or a lease purchase or lease rental. So everyone's different on the way this is set up. But definitely, let us know because companies are going to always try to push for the highest percentages as possible because they're trying to they have high overhead. Keep your overhead down. Just going to get the biggest and fanciest tools is not going to help you in this. Your ability to negotiate and generate freight, there's your key. That is the key. The rest of it, doing the bookkeeping or whatever else service that you feel your skill set's good enough to help them with, that's another thing. But you've got to be a good negotiator and obviously generate that gross revenue that they need to make that truck profitable. And you'll because I don't want to charge somebody money for my services and I'm actually eating out of what they were already making before they even got to me. I got to exceed that because I want to make them know the value that I'm providing is way more than what they're actually paying me. So they benefit from dealing with me. So establish contracts to secure long-term business relationships. This really and truly, you're not really going to do this with freight dispatchers. I don't know why that's in there, but you do that with basically direct shippers in order to ensure that you got freight if you want to contract it. Um, and it just depends on how you're setting it up. Depends on who you're doing business with. But I'll actually put some information on the contracts on what we look at. But if you actually attend our freight dispatch program, all the contracts are in there already. So you've got the contracts in hand. The rest of it is going to be how to negotiate that given issue to make sure you're generating as much revenue as you can from that given party, which will obviously trickle down to your owner operator. Now, learn how to find high paying loads. Ain't that the phrase of the day, right? So use load boards to find freight that matches your driver's locations and preferences. Remember, you got a driver profile, so you want to stay inside that profile because that's what he's paying you to do because you're working for him. So load boards are really, I've always felt like they were the last ditch resort to get you moving out of any given area, but everybody leans on them. Develop direct relationships with freight brokers and shippers for better paying contracts. If you can get a broker to stop a damn second and tell him what you're doing, if it don't fit him, absolutely, that let it go and just keep on moving. And he might have freight here and there, but I'm not going to contact him. If I see it on the boards, I'll grab it. But if you really can get a freight broker to work with you based on whatever you got going, find out if he really wants to talk to you and you tell him, okay, this is my trucks, this is where they're at. Is there anything in there that I can count on to talk to that owner operator, see if he can make that every week? So discuss it with your owner operator. If he can be there, then hopefully you can set something up permanent with that broker or freight agent so you can be there for that given load. Because if it pays good enough, well, stay steady on that and then start filling in the gaps around it. Because if you get drivers that actually stick to dedicated routes, it makes it more stable, stable, so that you can actually generate freight and keep the freight price up as you increase the which spots are good and which spots are not good. You're trying to bring that freight value up to make the overall weekly gross look better and better as it goes along. Sometimes it takes a minute to build this up. This ain't an overnight deal, but you definitely want to keep pounding away at it because the better results you have, the better you make because you're doing percentage. You're not getting paid by the load. I highly suggest to get against getting paid by the load or paid by the hour. Do it if you want to, but I don't discuss it because that's the worst way to have it. With doing percentages, there's the trust factor that's established between you and that owner operator because they know you're doing good, then he's doing good. So it's a mutual trust or benefit out of it. So, anyways, understanding freight lanes and market trends to maximize profitability. Remember, everything comes in season, but it always still depends on what trailer you got, depending on what freight you're going to be limited to pulling for that given week or whatever trailer they're in there. Because drivers do change out their trailers, whether they're renting them or they have them at their house, they'll swap them out based on the season. Freight lanes is really where is the freight. We got all kinds of stuff on DAT and truck stop, and it'll highlight them red, yellow, whatever colors that determine because like in DAT one is actually zones, right? That depends on where you're looking for freight from. But in those zones, that's different. There's another analytical board that will tell you where the freight is actually hot at. Like, is it hot in zone one or two? Or you can just look at it if you know the United States. Okay, it looks good down in the southeast. We got a lot of dry van or whatever coming out of that given region based on your drivers so you can accommodate their needs. But remember, you still got to follow their profile because if they say, I don't want no southeast, then that screws you out of the whole southeast, which you'll know your drivers because you're dealing with the same people day in and day out. But you'll learn how to ride that rhythm to figure out where they need to be at for that given time of the year or months. And that way you can maximize it that way as well. So anyways, marketing your dispatching services. Me, I put everything. I use Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, word of mouth, everything. I mean, I make everything about me transparent, even my life, because most of the freight dispatchers are wanting to travel. So I travel a lot. And so there's no sense. I traveled the whole time I was sitting at 18 wheeler. Why would I let freight dispatching make me sit in the office? So I travel a lot. So I share those videos and stuff you'll see in there. And the whole point behind it is if you want to travel to, get your passport and travel. Quit thinking you got to be stuck in one country. Okay. That's just nonsense. But always make sure you got internet service. That's the biggest thing. But anyways, knowing that, then obviously all these different platforms, no matter what you do, helps. Okay. Make sure you keep your name, your phone numbers, and everything in there. Whatever website you build, all that good stuff. A lot of the websites are very easy to use. Even I built the website. Wow. But everything I did inside my website is my content. So this is easily achievable, but it does take time. So you got to continually keep it in the back of your mind where you're at and what you can record on. You got a high dollar phone in your pocket with all the fancy cameras on it and different features. So why are you not going to be using it? Um, Now, advertise in trucking groups, forums, and job boards to attract truckers. Because look, if you're looking at trucking forums, I mean, unless there's a trucking group outside of Facebook groups, which I don't really never see many results from that, or forums, I don't really see that as much a benefit. If I'm wrong, I wish you'd reach out, send me some like some messages on my videos or whatever, and tell me what you think on those. That has to do with trucking groups and forums. I'd like to learn. See, I don't know everything, so I'm reaching out saying, if you know something I don't, please share, because I'm the same way. I'll easily share you what I got because it's trucking. We're networking, social networking, and communicating about what we do. Job load boards can become really expensive really quick. So, and when you do put on job boards, what kind of people do they apply to those leads? Are they applying to what you're actually asking for? Or are they just reading the title and clicking and saying, I apply? Now you got a bunch of people that don't even come nowhere near what you're looking for. And then finding out, in addition, when you're placing these ads, what kind of restrictions. I found out they got restrictions, because I'll offer stuff and they're saying, well, you're selling. Shit. I'm in logistics. I'm not selling. I'm literally offering people the ability to become freight dispatchers. But if you don't want to be a freight dispatcher because I already know you're a truck driver, then I can get you a trucking job. But you can't do that. I've been kicked off and had to go through a bunch of bull crap to even get my thing turned back on, my link turned back on. But if you can do, if the biggest thing is I put job ads out there, and so now I've had to convert it to where I'm getting people wanting jobs, and then I talk to them, say, if you, because I just wait to hear them, listen to them. They're going to let you know if they don't like trucks. But how many jobs have you had? What's going on? Do you got a SAP? SAP's going to reduce their pay automatically. That's a good opportunity to often be a freight dispatcher. Just depends. Some people are receptive, some people are not. Whole world don't want the same piece of cake, right? So now use cold calling and email outreach to introduce your services to owner operators. People put that crap everywhere. You got to have somebody dedicated to do your cold calls, whether it's inbound and outbound. You really need to have them be able to do both. Okay. And when you're doing that, it's the same thing as getting a hot lead. You got to hit it and you got to stay on them because you don't want them to lose the interest. Because if they're wanting to make that move, you want you to be the choice. Just make sure you are offering what you say you're offering. So cold calling, you know, uh, that's a hard one because that's a lot of phone calling. Email outreach, emails, if you put them in there and they either become too spammy or people start marking them as spam just in their own righteous way or whatever you want to call it, then you're going to get a lot of it going to spam. Now you got to tell everybody, please check your email or check your spam, but that's only after you've made contact with them by phone call because otherwise they're not going to know and it just goes straight to spam anyways, and they're not going to look in spam. So that kind of works against you. Even if it's a paid email service, it still happens to them. So don't let people get your money out of your pocket with some bull crap they're trying to sell you that really does not work. But you want to introduce your services. Like I say, social media seems to be one of the better things I've done, and obviously word of mouth because I'm a truck driver. I'm dealing with fellow truck drivers, and they got family and other people driving trucks and everything. But like I tell people, once I teach you to be a freight dispatcher, everything in my system stays on. You can easily teach your family members to be a dispatcher without me even, you having to pay me nothing. Teach them. I mean, you pay for the service, use it, maximize it, right? I'm not trying to make $1 million. I just want to enjoy life like you're trying to enjoy life, right? So, how much can you earn? These numbers are realistic, but you still got to put the work in. So let's not say, oh, well, I'm making all this money. You still got to put the work in. You get out of this what you do put into it. Now, the income potential depends on how many truckers you dispatch for. Okay. So if you got one owner operator, you will average around $2,000 to $3,500 a month. Okay. Um, and if you're doing 3 to 5 trucks, and remember, this is a variable, depends on the trailer and where you're getting your freight. You got to load these trucks correctly and you got to have good trailers, not just saying the trailer quality, but the type of trailer. I only do step deck. So 3 to 5 trucks, you earn between 6 to 15,000 a month. That's 3 to 5 trucks. A lot of people they don't even make that on an 18 wheeler. That's the reason the whole thing behind it. In fact, one owner operator, the 2,000, the 3,500, some people don't even make that. I'm a recruiter. Trust me on this. In fact, go to my job board. There's other trucking companies in there, and I'll tell you what they make, and it ain't that. Um, 3 to 5 trucks, like I said, 6,000 to 15,000 a month. If you can do 10 trucks, that's asking a lot out of yourself, actually. You can earn $20,000 plus per month, but that is a lot of freight you're moving. Okay. Don't get more trucks than you can actually handle because you think, oh, well, whatever it is, but you're actually hurting yourself. You're not going to be able to maximize the gross revenue. You're going to start losing your drivers and they're going to be pissed off at you and you just screwed your name up. Keep your reputation intact. Um, so I'm obviously this is an example of a profit calculation. So if you have 5 trucks, each of them are earning $6,000 a week. So I would say this is dry van, and you're doing $7,000 per load. So you take the 6,000 times the 7% that you're charging them, because it's saying that you're doing 70% per load. That equals to $420 per truck per week. So if you take those 5 trucks at $540, that puts you at $2,100 per week for just 5 trucks. So that puts you almost at $8,400 per month. That's not bad, but I know you can do better than this. Okay. Um, but it depends on, what you're dealing with. Like I said, the trailer is the part that really matters when it comes to this. Obviously, next thing is going to be the inspirational part of why to start a freight dispatch business to begin with. One, low cost startup. You only need a laptop, a phone, and software. The next one's going to be work from anywhere. Run your business remotely from home, from another country, wherever you want to be. Make sure you get everything lined up if you're going to leave the States to ensure, remember, you're a United States citizen. It doesn't matter where you're at in the world. They can't take your citizenship because if you're a naturally native born U.S. citizen, you're a citizen no matter what. Unless all of a sudden, I've seen so much stuff, I'm not going to get into it, but if you travel, you'll see some of the crazy that sometimes happens. But anyways, no CDL or truck needed, so you can earn money without driving, and that's the whole point. It's to get you off the truck, so you quit doing all that nighttime getting beat up and everything, trying to be a truck driver, and where you made just actually made a lot more, actually made it over double what you're making just dispatching trucks from home. Scalable, the more trucks you dispatch, the more money you earn. In that instance, if you want to do more trucks and you want to make more money, let me know so we can discuss because you're going to need good quality staff. You don't have to pay high dollar staff. You can outsource. I help people outsource because I'm here in other countries, and everywhere I go around the world, I make my connections. I go to the business districts. Where are the call centers? I've established that connection, and that way, no matter where I'm at, I got resources back in other countries, and that's where I source people from. Some of them are already experienced dispatchers, and then some of them are people that need to be trained. Depending on the task that you need, I will literally tell you what fits best for what because we've got so much experience in it at this given point. But the less money you have to pay out on staffing, then obviously the higher your profit margins. So, anyways, starting an independent freight dispatcher is one of the fastest ways to enter logistics and generate high income potential without a large investment. If you're ready to take the next step, then obviously you need to get your business legally registered and learn how to book loads efficiently. Sorry, efficiently. Um, Now, obviously, for a business plan template or script, there's some other things you can do. I'm not going to cover it, but business plan templates, they have it. So you can go down and follow the steps or a script for finding truckers. Those are obviously available as well. We literally have them on our Truck Driver Nation website because once you learn to be a freight dispatcher with us, we actually teach you how to recruit. No matter if you're recruiting as a freight dispatcher, needing owner operators, or you're wanting to actually help people get jobs as a driver recruiter so you don't leave money sitting on the table because there's always going to be somebody decides they don't want to either own the truck or whatever it comes along and you say, well, here, do you need a job? And then you have those jobs and then you're still making money that direction. And you don't have to do much because we help you out until you get that down. So we teach you all that for free once you actually attend a freight dispatching course. But anyways, I hope this helped, gave you some insight on what you need to do to be a freight dispatcher. Um, it's a very good business. I'll be honest with you. I'm happy that I made the transition myself. Um, as usual, there's still the issue of, how far you can go. Sometimes you feel like you get cut off because you're still dependent on people once you decide you want to scale it. So that's something neither here or there. But if you just want to you work a one party show, it's you, your wife, or whatever, you can make real good income without even growing a big business. But just keep that in mind. But obviously, go to truckdrivernation.com. Okay, take a look in there. Lots of information in there. We got TikTok, we got YouTube, and we also got Facebook, all Truck Driver Nation. and go in there and I put all kinds of media and stuff on there and I answer questions on them. Obviously, if you want to actually get direct access to us and talk to us directly, go to Telegram. On Telegram, it's literally the @ sign Truck Driver Nation. It'll actually come through. I'll open it up and you'll actually can talk to me one on one to assist you with making decisions. But outside of that, just visit that website. If you want to send a text message through the website, um, or even an email like support at truckdrivernation.com, or just give us a direct call at 210-343-1118. That's 210-343-1118. But outside of that, that's pretty much what covers this topic. So I hope this helped you to understand, if you're going to open a business as a independent freight dispatcher, this is the baseline steps for what you're doing. The rest of it just has to do with your overall vision and being a business owner, and you can take this literally as far as you want to. But anyways, thank you for visiting Truck Driver Nation. Thank you for your time and watching this content. If you can hit like or subscribe, that would be appreciated. Apparently, I don't really know how that helps me, but I like knowing that people are taking all the content that I'm building and using it. It makes me feel good about the situation that all them years I spent in logistics is not just going to waste. But anyways, thank you so much, and hope to hear from you soon. Have a great day. Drivers out there on the road, please be safe, by the way. Have a great day.